Sweet things are for sharing. Picture postcards, cozy cuddles, cupcakes so fluffy they float. Over the summer, Clover had shared all of these. Postcards with her friend Emma, who was away at pony camp, cuddles with Dipity, her green kitten, and cupcakes at a picnic with leprechauns, giants, and a ghost. But the sweetest thing in Clover's life couldn't be shared with anyone. Well, anyone non-magical, that is. It was the secret of the magical animal adoption agency, hidden in the woods and filled with unicorns, fairy horses, and even an invisible flying puppy. Mr. Jams had entrusted her with the secret. He owned the agency and had hired her as a volunteer at the start of the summer. Mr. Jams said that oftentimes non-magical people didn't know how to deal with magic, and so that was why Clover couldn't write to Emma about it or tell her parents. They knew that she was working at an animal adoption agency, and that was it. Sometimes she wished she could tell them. Mostly she was happy enough to keep the secret to herself. Now, however, there was someone she had no choice but to share the agency with, and having him around was anything but sweet. Oliver von Hoof was a magical animal expert. He had written the volume on enchanted eggs in the Magical Animal Encyclopedia, as well as 2 other volumes, even though he was only slightly older than Clover. Mr. Jams had invited him to examine a giant spotted egg at the agency, but it had hatched before he arrived. Inside was Picnic, the invisible puppy. Mr. Jams had insisted Oliver stay so he could observe the puppy and work on a new book about invisible animals. Plus, he'll be able to lend a hand, Mr. Jams had added. So far, though, he wasn't helping at all. Clover and Oliver were in the tack room, where the stable's supplies were kept, getting ready to start a new task. Mr. Jams had asked them to polish the unicorn's horns while he minded the front desk.
"Can you pass me a bottle of stardust?" Clover asked. "And 1 bottle of moonbeams? Mr. Jams said we have to mix them together to make the polish."
Oliver wasn't listening. He was scribbling words in his notebook. "Out-of-sight canines are usually winged." He paused. Out of sight is not right, is it? I suppose I could use invisible again, but I've used it 57 times in the first chapter alone."
"Oliver, the stardust and moonbeams,"
prompted Clover. Oliver set down his notebook and pushed his glasses up his nose. "Did you say something?"
"Ugh,"
groaned Clover, getting the ingredients herself. The stardust was easy to spot, twinkling brightly on the shelf just above the bridles. The bottles of moonbeams, however, were harder to find, packed away in a dusty box. They glowed in varying degrees that matched their labels, from bright full moon to pale crescent. One bottle shone with a slightly blue tinge, like a pool of clear water. Blue moon, its label read. Clover had never heard of a blue moon before.